But first, the U.S. jobs report, it's more or less positive, with the unemployment falling to its lowest level since 2008. April's jobs report shows employers added more than 288,000 jobs, mostly from businesses, and that also dropped the jobless rate from 6.7 to 6.3%. U.S. President Barack Obama highlighted how a healthy job market not only benefits the country, but the world.
My top priority is doing everything that we can to create more jobs and opportunity for hardworking families, for our economic strength as a source of strength in the world. And this morning we learned that our businesses created 273,000 new jobs last month. All told, our businesses have now created 9.2 million new jobs over 50 consecutive months of job growth.
A closer look at the numbers show the jobless rate fell because more people dropped out of the workforce altogether, pushing the participation rate in the market to a 30-year low. The workforce shrank by more than 800,000 people to nearly 63%. That's a number that includes people who are able to work. It's a mix of baby boomers leaving the workforce and more young adults choosing college instead of working, and also those aren't counted if they've given up looking for a job. The Economic Policy Institute says the unemployment rate would be closer to 10% if the entire jobless population was actively looking for work. According to the employment website Career Builder, the country's creating more jobs faster. But many employers can't find skilled applicants to fill them. The jobs require specialized training and education, and it's hard to afford if you're not working. Nearly all the jobs lost since the start of the 2008 recession have returned, but questions remain over the quality of those jobs. The National Employment Law Center says more than 40% of those jobs are low-paying. Higher quality jobs mean people have more money to spend on goods and services, and that overall helps boost the economy. For more on the job market, I'm joined by Lindsay Stanton. She's the Chief Client Officer of Digi-Me, and I want to talk to you about this jobs report. A lot of people are, of course, celebrating over it and touting about how great it is. But of course, there's the other angle of this participation rate. Explain that to us and why we need to look at that.
Absolutely. Well, we're in a very good position to talk about what's going on in the job market. We work with a lot of Fortune 1000 organizations, and we get a good pulse on what's ramping and areas of growth. We also work with quite a few staffing firms, and they're kind of the first ones to experience that growth. We're seeing tremendous growth here at Digi-Me through professional types of roles, manufacturing type of roles, and I think even when you look at GDP, if you take and extrapolate the numbers, actually sales has increased here in the U.S. and it's consistent with the areas of growth we're seeing in professional services and other areas where employers are actually competing, as you mentioned in the lead-in. They're competing very heavily for the types of talent that they need to be able to reach.
The report, Lindsay, I mean, a lot of people are talking about how it's not just one particular sector, it's all the sectors, whether it's housing, it's property, It's services, it's travel. I mean, isn't this a good thing? I mean, this is what we all want, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and I think, the fact of the matter is employers are actually having to stay ahead of from a technology perspective. They're competing heavily with each other to find the talent pools that they need to be able to reach, and I think consumer confidence has now, hit that point where people are buying cars. We've seen it with the auto manufacturing clients that we work with. They're being more innovative. They're using technology like our solution with video, mobile. They're hitting social media. There's a huge search engine optimization component to what we offer to clients. So basically, they're able to reach out to job seekers faster and more effectively and track their behavior, because at the end of the day, they need to be able to reach into those kind of key networks of talent, whether it's CDL drivers. We work with clients like USG Corporation. They're hiring CDL drivers in 36 states. So you don't necessarily have to have a college degree in order to be able to get a high-paying, well-respected job.
Lindsay, it's great that there's jobs being created, but some of the critics would argue, and I think we can at least agree on this, is most people want a raise, right? If you ask them if they want a raise, the answer is yes. But the statistics don't show that pay has gone up in the last few years. Hours worked hasn't moved very much. Hourly pay hasn't moved much, right? So As
Right.
unemployment drops and we're near this, quote, full unemployment, could that be good news for all of us that are working, that maybe, just maybe, we're going to get paid more?
Absolutely, because quite frankly, companies are pinched for talent. We see it with the organizations like Hartford Insurance. They're always looking for salespeople. They're always looking for IT people, and there's a shortage of very qualified people, quite frankly.
Where's the biggest shortage is that?
Engineering, for sure. There are so many companies hiring for engineers. Kiewit Corporation is one of our customers. They're taking new innovative approaches to be able to reach out to those networks of talent because it is such a highly competitive area. And there aren't enough qualified people coming out of college with those types of degrees.
Back to this full employment. Some of the critics have also argued that a lot of people are still working part-time. They want a full-time job, but they're working part-time now, and they're not necessarily being counted this sort of underemployed sector. Are you concerned about that, or is that maybe perhaps part of the new normal?
I think we're just going to see organizations continue to feel more confident and ramp up in their hiring. I mean, quite frankly, typically we'll see a raise in volume hiring, like with the staffing organizations, which is definitely what we're seeing at Digi-Me. And then once the organizations have the confidence and their business is performing well, sales being a big part of that and hiring salespeople to keep the business going, once they feel that confidence, then they'll start to bring those people on in full-time and start to ramp up more internally.
I'm going to bring up something controversial. It's going to be a curveball for you, so bear with me for a bit. In Seattle, they are considering making the minimum wage there $15 an hour. Now that's big, right? Because the current minimum wage there is probably about $9. So if that were to happen, other cities around the country will say, wait a minute, we want to have $15 an hour minimum wage as well. My question is, does that help the economy, and what happens to job creation? Because I can only imagine that it's going to have an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have an economic development background, and I think the real struggle with that is when you go that high, you're giving the markets around you a competitive advantage because, quite frankly, employers are going to move. I mean, I'm Chicago-based. We've even seen that to some extent with the minimum wage requirements here in Chicago. You have to be. It's a fine line. I understand, protecting the workers' rights, but I think at the end of the day, we've seen consistent, steady growth for employment, and I think you kind of need to let the market play out and let the job creation, start to progress even further, and let the market itself take care of it.
All right, certainly a lot of views on this. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great weekend.